So the 2026 Hyundai Verna is here, and boy, is it making some noise. Hyundai is calling it the best in its class, a car that completely redefines the segment. So in this explainer, we're going to put those claims to the test, break down the numbers, and see if it all really adds up. You've probably seen the ads, right? All these phrases like segment first and best in class. But what does that stuff actually mean when you're on the road? We're going to cut through all that marketing talk and just look at the hard data, from the engine all the way to its safety tech, and see how it stacks up against its biggest rivals. Performance meets innovation. It's a great tagline, you gotta admit, but what does that really mean for you on the road? Is the performance actually exciting? And is the innovation just a bunch of gadgets, or is it tech that actually makes your drive better? That's the big question we're gonna tackle. Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with the heart of the car, that powerful engine. Then we'll get into the tech and safety, check out if it's really as spacious as they say, and then the main event, a direct head-to-head with the competition. Let's jump right in.
All right, first up, let's talk about what's under the hood. Hyundai is making a really bold claim here, that this Verna has the most powerful engine in its class. That's a huge statement. Let's see if the numbers agree.
The big number everyone's talking about? 160 PS. That's the standard way we measure engine power. And coming from its 1.5-liter turbo engine, this number, right off the bat, puts it ahead of the competition. It promises some serious get up and go when you put your foot down. But, horsepower is only half the story. You also have torque. And here we're looking at 253 Newton meters. Now, if power is about how fast you can go, torque is that shove you back in your seat feeling. It's that instant punch off the line, and this number suggests the Verna has a whole lot of it. So, you take that power, you take that torque, what do you get in the real world? Well, you get this, a claimed 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 8.1 seconds. I mean, for a family sedan in this category, that is really moving. But all that power means nothing if you can't get it to the road efficiently, right? The Verna uses a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, a DCT. The easiest way to think about it is like a super fast, super smart automatic gearbox. It shifts gears almost instantly, so you're never wasting any of that performance.
Okay, so we know it's quick, but is it smart? Is it safe? Let's switch gears from the engine to the car's brain. It's safety and tech. And guess what? Hyundai's making some pretty big claims here too.
And they're starting with a big one, a 5-star global NCAP safety rating. You can't get any higher than that. This isn't just a marketing gimmick. This is a top score from voluntary, independent testing that looks at how well it protects both adults and kids in a crash. It's a huge deal. But these days, safety isn't just about the crash itself. It's about avoiding it altogether. That's where Level 2 ADAS comes in. Think of it like a really smart co-pilot. It's not going to drive the car for you, but it uses cameras and sensors to help out. It can help with steering, braking, and accelerating, making those long highway drives way less tiring and city traffic a lot safer. Hyundai calls its system Smart Sense, and there's a ton of features, but let's just touch on a few of the coolest ones. Smart Cruise Control is amazing in traffic. It literally stops and goes for you. Forward collision avoidance can hit the brakes if you don't react in time. But my favorite might be the blind spot view monitor. You hit your turn signal and a live camera feed of your blind spot pops up right in the instrument cluster. How cool is that?
And then there's the more traditional safety stuff. Here's another first-in-segment claim for you. The Verna offers 7 airbags. That's the usual ones up front and on the sides, but also curtain airbags that run the full length of the car. It basically creates this protective bubble for everyone inside.
Okay, so it's powerful and it's safe. Check. But what about just living with it? Comfort, practicality. Let's see if the Verna is actually as big as they say it is. Let's start with how wide it is. We're talking 1,765 millimeters. Hyundai says that's the widest in its class. And why should you care? Well, it means more elbow room inside for you and your passengers. And it also gives the car a more solid, planted feeling on the road. Now for maybe the most important number when it comes to comfort, the wheelbase. That's just the distance from the front wheels to the back wheels. At 2,670 millimeters, it's supposedly the longest in its class, and that single number is the biggest reason you get so much rear legroom. It just makes the whole cabin feel way more spacious. And for just hauling stuff, the boot space is in massive 528 liters. Again, they're claiming this is the biggest. To put it simply, that's more than enough room for a family vacation's worth of luggage. No problem. But it's not just about raw space, is it? It's the little things, and Hyundai has packed in a bunch of features you just don't expect to see in this category.
Stuff like the smart trunk that opens by itself when you stand behind it with a key, or this really clever little switchable controller that cleans up the dashboard. These are the kinds of thoughtful touches that just make driving it every day that much better. All right, we've heard all the claims. We've seen all the numbers on their own. Now, for the main event. How does the Verna actually measure up when we put it side by side with its biggest rivals? This is where the rubber meets the road. So the big question, how does the new Verna really stack up? Let's just put it all on the table. And here we go. I mean, the data pretty much speaks for itself, doesn't it? Look at the key dimensions. Width, wheelbase, boot space. The Verna is on top in each one. Same thing with the size of the screens inside. Then you get to the engine, that turbo power, and it just pulls ahead of the competition. But for me, the real story is at the bottom. See those little check marks? Features like 7 airbags, the smart trunk, things that, according to this chart, you just can't get on the others. It really seems like, on paper at least, they've backed up every single one of their claims. Of course, a list of features is one thing, but it's all about the price, right? The Verna starts at just under 11 lakh, ex-showroom. Now that puts it right in the thick of it with its rivals, which honestly makes that long list of firsts and bests we just looked at seem even more impressive. So let's just recap for a second. What are we looking at here? Based on all the data, the Verna's big claims seem to be true. It's the most powerful. It has the longest wheelbase and is the widest. It's got the biggest boot and screens. It's got that 5-star safety rating, and it's bringing features to the table that no one else in the segment has. Which brings us all the way back to that first question we asked. When you put it all together, that class-leading power, all that extra space, in a list of features you can't get anywhere else, has Hyundai actually gone and set a whole new benchmark for this kind of sedan? Looking at the evidence, it's a very, very convincing argument.